A Journey to Happiness. English summary story. The story begins with Stephen Ominy, a doctor residing in London, who encounters an unexpected series of events because of a peculiar doll. One October morning, he strolls along the River Thames, planning to purchase a newspaper. Passing by a flower shop, he feels the warmth of the early sun and continues down Abbey Lane, eventually arriving at a newspaper stand. With his niece's impending birthday in mind, he browses through toys and games in the shop's window, discovering a doll unlike the others. Cloth made with a beautifully painted face, emitting both a gentle and sorrowful expression. Strangely drawn to the doll's presence, Stephen decides to inspect it further and enters the shop owned by Jim Carter, who cheerfully greets him. The doll, though slightly hidden in the window, captivates Stephen, prompting him to inquire about purchasing it. Jim reveals the doll's uniqueness and hands it to Stephen, who is astonished by its exquisite craftsmanship. Though Jim quotes a high price, he offers a slight discount, and when asked about the doll's creator, mentions a woman with red hair known for bringing these dolls to the shop intermittently. The mysterious doll and its maker stir Stephen's curiosity, setting the stage for a curious and intriguing tale. Stephen purchases the doll despite feeling somewhat embarrassed about the expense. He takes the doll home, packaging it beautifully before sending it off as a gift to his niece. The doll's beauty and the mystery surrounding its creator linger in Stephen's mind, but his busy life as a doctor soon takes precedence. Weeks later, Stephen receives a call from a woman named Rose Calumet, inquiring about his medical visits. Her voice comes across as more concerned with payment than the person's health, leaving Stephen with a peculiar impression. Upon reaching her residence on Hardley Street, Stephen encounters the woman, Rose Calumet, in less than inviting surroundings, setting the stage for an unusual and potentially challenging interaction. In the cold, drab room of Rose Calumet, Stephen encounters a wall adorned with dolls, each as exquisitely crafted as the one he had purchased. Intrigued by this stark contrast between the dolls and Rose's demeanor, Stephen inquires about them. As Rose leads him to her niece, Mary, she warns Stephen about Mary's physical condition, particularly her twisted left leg. Despite the grim surroundings and Mary's evident distress, Stephen remains captivated by the oddity of the situation, trying to reconcile the beauty of the dolls with the disheartening scene before him. The scene unraveled with an air of tension, Stephen's frustration simmering beneath the surface as he observed Mary, a young woman with an ailing condition. His heart ached witnessing her pain, sensing a life slowly fading within her. Despite the grim situation, Stephen found solace in the room's vibrant clutter, filled with the tools of Mary's craft, colorful paints and cloth, a stark contrast to her dreary reality. Determined to help, Stephen gently prodded Mary to walk, and as she attempted, his suspicion was confirmed: her twisted leg wasn't the root of her illness. Sensing her silent plea for help, Stephen reached out, offering support, but Mary's anguish was palpable, her pain echoing silently. As Rose Calumet's presence loomed, Stephen felt the urgency to understand Mary's ailment, suspecting something graver than her physical deformity. The tension between Stephen and Rose escalated, her vehement denial of hope for Mary's condition startling him. Stephen sensed something deeper afflicting Mary, beyond her twisted leg. Despite Rose's stern warnings, Stephen planned to return, determined to help Mary, even if it meant addressing her physical ailment. As he prepared to leave, he uncovered the truth behind the dolls. Mary's creation, a distraction from her sorrowful reality, masterfully crafted as a means to avoid confronting her bleak future. Stephen left with newfound knowledge about Mary's plight, an unyielding determination to unravel her mysterious illness before it was too late. Despite multiple visits, Stephen could only piece together parts of Mary's story. Her life had been scarred by a tragic car accident at 15, orphaning her and leaving her with a twisted leg. Raised by her unkind aunt, Mary was subjected to a life of despair and hopelessness, her spirit gradually fading. Her aunt's incessant reminders about her twisted leg and the impossibility of finding love and marriage tormented Mary, stripping her of any hope for a better future. The dolls became an escape, a means for Mary to create beauty amid her bleak existence. However, even as the dolls brought in money, Mary's deteriorating health remained a mystery, overshadowed by her aunt's presence during Stephen's visits, preventing any candid conversation. Stephen's concern for Mary was palpable. His efforts to help her were met with resistance from Rose. Despite seeing some improvement in Mary's condition, he sensed something was amiss and feared for her well-being. His abrupt departure, per Rose's instruction, left him unsettled and worried. Soon after, Stephen's own health began to decline, baffling even his doctor friend. The uncertainty surrounding Mary's situation seemed to weigh heavily on Stephen, intertwining with his own deteriorating health. The intensity of Stephen's worry for Mary began to consume him. As his own health declined, he struggled to eat and sleep, haunted by dreams of Mary in distress. It was during one sleepless night that a realization struck him profoundly: he was in love with Mary. This epiphany brought clarity about Mary's suffering, her loneliness, her lack of hope, and the emptiness in her life. Determined to help her, Stephen sought assistance, reaching out to Jim Carter, hoping to intercept Rose's next visit to his shop to arrange a crucial conversation. Jim planned to alert him if Rose showed up at his shop. One day, Jim called him to say she was there. Stephen rushed to Mary's place. When Stephen entered her room, Mary looked frail, surrounded by her doll-making materials. He felt she wanted to create one more doll before things got worse. Mary was surprised to see Stephen but mistook him for Rose. Stephen pleaded with her to listen, but she didn't want to hear it, feeling the end was near. He spoke gently, trying to explain how she gave her love to the dolls, but got nothing in return, and her aunt, Rose, took away her happiness. In desperation, Stephen confessed his love for Mary, regardless of her twisted leg. He assured her he could fix it in a year. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she smiled. Stephen held her close, and at that moment, Rose barged in angrily. Mary clung to him in fear. But it was too late for Rose. She realized she had no control. Without a word, Stephen carried Mary out. As they stepped outside, the bright sky and playful children made them hopeful. That was 3 years ago. Now, Mary and Stephen have a happy family with their son, soon expecting another. Mary no longer makes dolls, but he's forever grateful for the day he first noticed that doll in Jim's shop.